So much the correct time of year to be talking to Olin because I just learned, Olin, I didn't know this, and I'm sure you know it. Olin Kreutz joins us now on the Aturo hotline, your all-weather tire, Aturo.com, that there really isn't a translation for Merry Christmas. We use Mele Kalikimaka because of the song, but there are only, I believe, 13 letters in the Hawaiian alphabet, and it's hard to put together different words or words that would translate exactly to the English language. Olin, good morning.
Yes.
How are you, buddy?
Good morning. Good morning, guys. Yes, it's hard to put together sentences in English with the how little letters there are in Hawaiian. You're
But
correct.
What?
13 letters be easier to learn.
Yeah, but
hmm
well,
hmm
but what word would in Hawaiian would you use to explain the Bears yesterday?
You would say pilikia. Everything's a problem. Everything's a problem right now for the Chicago Bears, and not just yesterday. Just this year. This year has taken a turn now. Uh, you know, they fired Coach Eberflus. The defense has given up 34 points a game since. They fired their offensive coordinator. The offense is scoring 18 points a game since they fired their offensive coordinator. Things are not working. The biggest problem, I think, as I've heard you guys talk about this morning, is trying to pinpoint the problem. Right? Where is the problem after 3 years of this regime? And we were talking in a pre and post game, Mully, last night that it's not me and Pat. We don't do the pre and post for games. We do the pre and post for regimes for the Chicago Bears since we started doing this analyst work. So there's so much going on here where you want to just talk about the football game, but it just seems right now the plan to put together the Chicago Bears team, the plan to put together the coaching staff. Nothing is working, right? And you've been blown out twice, guys. At halftime, I don't know if you guys watched much at halftime, but Jason Kelce was asked the question, what's the tell where the Chicago Bears will keep fighting, right? Like, how do you know they're not just going to get blown off the field? And he didn't even know how to answer it. He was like, I don't even know what you're asking. And his answer finally was, the Chicago Bears have to go out there and prove they belong in the NFL.
Yeah,
that was his answer.
Yep.
Yeah, that was his analyst work. So, Ryan Clark is saying the Minnesota Vikings have to go out there and beat teams like this, right? Bad football teams, and blow them off the field because you're preparing for good football teams. So if there was a lot of that, that is what the Chicago Bears look like. That's what their product looks like on the football field right now. So there's a lot to answer for if you're the Chicago Bears and you're in that building. And it's really not Thomas Brown and the coaching staff that have to answer these questions.
Olin, speaking of plans, which was the most flawed part of the plan? Playing Karana Magaji over a veteran in Larry Borum, who you're paying $3 million to, or playing on Magaji, even though he may not be ready, but not giving him help schematically to protect the quarterback.
Yeah, and let's go over the Karana Magaji plan, right? Remember, he didn't have camp. He was injured. So you only have 14 padded practices during the year right now. So how much work has this guy got, right, in the NFL? So the plan, I cannot imagine that Coach Morgan, Thomas Brown, and the rest of the offensive staff said, here is our best option. Here is our best option at left tackle. So to me, that tells me the general manager came downstairs and said, I want this guy, my draft pick, playing left tackle.
Oh.
So to me, that's a mistake already. A mistake to play this guy at left tackle on the road against a defensive end, Grenard, who's really hot. And you thought to yourself, as soon as they announced him as left tackle, you said, oh, man, sack fumble, right?
Yep.
Holding. Or at least they're going to give him a lot of help now on that sack fumble. I don't know what Travis Homer is doing. And there's another guy, right, because of injuries. Because of injuries to Roshan Johnson. There's two backups there trying to protect your quarterback. So he doesn't get help to him. You're right. They're not helping him. And don't forget the 4th and 1. Right, the first 4th and 1, they decide to run toss left behind the rookie tackle. And Komet gets stuffed and pushed back in the line of scrimmage, and Karan Amagaji guy beat him and stops the 4th and 1. So a lot of what you guys are talking about, the plan, the guys on the field, what's going on with this football team. It's just very interesting to watch the decisions being made. Nothing seems to be working for these Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Olin. I mean, we were just talking about it during the break about the kind of dynamics of this team. Thomas Brown, now the head coach. Now he's the man in charge of guys like Chris Morgan, who was there ahead of him with Eberflus for a couple of years. How do all these relationships work? In other words, does he, as a head coach, does he actually have power over anyone? He doesn't control what's going to happen in their careers because they're not his people. It's just an awkward situation. And frankly, you got to wonder why the coaches, and I mean all of them, coming to him and saying, hey, that kid's getting overwhelmed. Try something else. Do something else. I thought there'd be like a max protect package against this team in this situation. And I got to tell you, watching that quarterback get hit the way he's getting hit is giving me nightmares. I think it's awful.
Yeah, and even when, like Troy Aikman did a nice job pointing out Roma Dunzi wide open in the middle of the field, right?
Yes.
The ball's not coming out, right? And his footwork doesn't look great, and it looks like his process is being rushed, and he's under pressure. And obviously, when you're a young quarterback, you know that your starting left tackle all of a sudden is out late during the week on Friday or Saturday, right? And you're talking about max protection. The problem with Flores, Mully, is if you max protect, he's just going to bring more than you got blocking there, right? So the ball does have to come out. Like you're saying right now, Thomas Brown, when he's talking to Coach Morgan, when he's talking to Beatty, this is not his coach staff. And it's the same on the other side of the ball, right? With Coach Washington.
Yes.
Coach Eberflus is gone. Both play callers are now not there anymore. And the chaos, as we've been talking about up there at Hallis Hall,
and hold on one second.
The development of the young quarterback.
Hold on one second.
We're going to try
to clean up the line, buddy. Hold on one second.
This segment with Olin Kreutz is sponsored by Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868.
I mean, he is so right about that. The whole thing seems kind of whacked out a little, right? And I don't want to blame.
Well, here's what I don't understand about coaching sometimes. They don't adjust to the personnel they're forced to use. Like he had a great example on that fourth down, the first 4th and 1. That play was probably the best play they felt like they had under ideal circumstances.
But the personnel is completely different.
Changes the circumstances, so they're less than ideal. So why do you stubbornly stick to that?
We have Olin back. Sorry, Olin. We're having some kind of problem. Glad you're
Everything's a problem right now, right? Everything.
Yeah. What is that word again? Puka Nakia? I forget.
Pilikia.
Okay.
Pilikia, yes.
But it is. I mean, it's an unfair situation. And we were saying, would the offensive coordinator / head coach be better not on the sidelines? Well, that's not really a conceivable answer where he just goes back upstairs and starts calling plays. And you're so right. You're playing against professional teams. That team has got great aspirations. And now that Detroit has stumbled or gotten injured, whatever way you want to term it, it feels like there's an opening for them to take the NFC North, and they're ready to fill in there.
Yeah, the Vikings are playing really good football, right? And they're winning a lot of games. They're finding ways to win. They got the quarterback playing good football, and O'Connell seems to know what buttons to press, and Flores is a good defensive coordinator. They got all those weapons on offense, and Jefferson and Addison and Jones and Hawkinson, and it's just they got some injuries now hitting their offensive line. But other than that, they're playing really good football, right? And you go up there, look at what Thomas Brown has had to face since he's become the head coach, right? He has to fly to San Fran, play San Francisco, fly to Minnesota, play Minnesota. He gets his first game at home against a pretty good Lions team, even though they're injured. But the first thing you thought about when a lot of people mentioned, right, when they elevated Thomas Brown to head coach, who's going to call the plays, and is the play caller going to change again? And this is going to change again for the young quarterback. And you thought they should have went in a different direction, the way they arranged their coaching staff and made either Hoke or Hightower or Washington head coach, but they didn't. Can they go back now, create more chaos, and try to do it the right way? And to me, guys, this is just a bigger problem with the Chicago Bears is the plan never seems to work. Whether it be the plan for the offensive line, whether it be plan for the coaching staff, whether it be the plan for the new offensive coordinator. Nothing seems to really work right now.
So, Olin, when you look at moving forward, has there anything that's happened inform your decision or your opinion about what you would be looking for in the next head coach? We heard from Troy Aikman. Everybody talks about the offensive-minded guy. We know the candidates who might be available. From your perspective, former Bear, tough guy, knowing what a good football team looks like and sounds like and feels like. Has anything that's happened changed or informed your opinion about what the Bears should be looking for?
I mean, you would love to have the Sean McVay, right? The Kevin O'Connell, the Shanahan type coaches who are very good head coaches, very good leaders, develop coaching staffs, and then, even develop guys to go on and be head coaches from the offensive side of the ball. But you always have the same offensive system and the same guy talking to your quarterback is what you would love to have. It's just that a guy has to be that. There's not a lot of those guys, right? There's not a lot of those kind of coaches in the NFL. It's just, what are you looking for Hallisall? You're looking to put as many good people as you can in that building to get them moving in the right direction, to change the way that this building has been moving, the direction it's moving in. You have to know what the right questions are to ask. You have to know what your football team needs. You heard the young general manager say, "Now I know what this team needs," right? You heard him say that. Oh, yeah. So I'd like to ask him, what does he think this team needs right now? Obviously, guys, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, his name jumps out at everybody because the way the Lions play football, you have to get him in a room, ask him who his defensive coordinator is, ask him who his offensive line coach is, ask him who his strength coach is, ask him who his trainers are, ask him his plan for actually running a whole building and leading a team that has not won a playoff game for a long, long time.
So the Lions are next, right? I mean, and they're like a wounded animal. They're all beaten up. David Montgomery is out for the year. They've been losing guys. And it feels like that the coach is kind of losing his mind as they're losing guys, and he's just going to go for every fourth down and onside kick and do whatever he thinks can keep the ball out of the hands of the other team's offense. Where are you at with this game coming up? The Bears are a total mess, but it feels like there's an opportunity. I know that sounds insane, but at least you're at home. I'll be very curious to see how the crowd responds. And at least you have people there that you would think if they're injured, maybe you can get the offense going. If nothing else, maybe you can score some points in this game.
Yeah, and I'm sure Thomas Brown is looking forward to coaching his first game at Soldier Field and his team being at home. And look, like you guys know better than anybody, let's get Jared Goff over here in the cold, right? Let's get it cold there on Sunday. I think it says it might be 30 degrees and low of 14.
Right.
We could either use that to be even a little colder. And you're right. Anytime the Lions come to Soldier Field, the Bears have played them well over the years, and they do match it well, especially with the injuries that the Lions do have. And I know we talk about with Dan Campbell, but that is the way he coaches, and it works for them, right? Some of the calls he makes and going for it on fourth down and onside kicks and things like that. But, it reminds me of the 49ers, right? When we were talking, Mully, we were talking pregame to Tim Ryan, the 49ers radio guy, and he was like, we have all these injuries, and you go through the list, and you're like, interesting, though. You still have Penei Sewell, right? You still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You still have Jahmyr Gibbs. You still have Jameson Williams.
Yeah. You
still have Sam Laporta. You still have Jared Goff. Man, I'd like to have that problem. Right, I'd like to have that problem for my football team. The Lions defense still has DJ Reader. They still have Zadarius Smith. They still have Jack Campbell. So they still have a lot of good football players. Aaron Glenn, another top coaching prospect right now with the way the Lions are playing football. Look, they lost to the Bills, right? Bills are a very, very good football team. Jonathan Allen, I think he's going to be the MVP of the league. They're playing very good football right now. We'll see what these Lions. The Bears still got to come out, and they got to beat a very good Lions football team.
So, Olin, Caleb Williams has gone 8 straight games without throwing an interception, and I wonder the way that you view that, because from an offensive line perspective, I think the perspective might be different than the way the rest of us may look at that. Yeah, he's being careful, he's being protective, and he's being smart, but he's also being risk-averse, and he's taking a lot of sacks. How do you view that stat, and what do you think of his performance last night?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he is being risk-averse, but he is a young quarterback going through a lot. It's hard to look at his game this year and really analyze it. It's the same thing we said when Justin Fields was here, right? Did they build him a strong enough team where we could really analyze him, right? And then now with Caleb Williams, not only the team, obviously he has talent around him. They were using DJ Moore last night like a running back out of a 4 wide receiver set sometimes, and that worked for them until the sack fumble. But when you look at Caleb Williams with the coaching staff, with the amount of change he's had there, it's hard to know what he's being told or what he's being told on a day-to-day basis. And it does look like you're saying, he is holding onto the ball until they fall behind, and then he starts ripping it a little bit, and then you see those big plays he makes, and he always tries to move around the pocket and extend the play a little bit too much for me. Like Troy Aikman mentioned, they don't have him under center a lot. The one play that does jump out to me is that 14-yard gain by Cole Kmet, the play action pass they had, and Cole Kmet kind of bumped the release. He had a late release there, but as far as this all goes, David, exactly what you're saying is exactly what's going on, right? The offensive line is getting beat, but there is a young quarterback there who doesn't want to make mistakes, who's kind of holding on the ball too long. A lot of the times, some of the sacks, I mean, they're after like 6 or 7 seconds, and everyone is saying, I think Buck said last night, like, you got to get rid of the ball, right? Yeah. You've got to throw the ball at some point. So that's all going on with this team right now. I know I've said this a few times in this hit here. Everything seems to be a problem when you watch it. You don't watch any position, whether it be the secondary, the linebackers, the defensive line, the pass rush, the offensive line, the receivers dropping balls, the running backs not check release when they're supposed to, not chipping when they're supposed to. Everything right now, guys. When you watch this football team, obviously, when you lose 8 games in a row, I lost 8 games in a row once in 2002. We were playing in Champaign every week, but we ended that year with Henry Burst and Corey Sauter playing quarterback, right? Not with the number 1 pick of the draft. So a very interesting team. They're going through a lot. They got to find their way out of it.
This segment with Olin Kreutz is sponsored by Bosch Power Tools, what hard workers deserve. I kind of vowed I would never go back to the U of I after that season because I learned to hate that drive. And like you, and now I have a kid there, and I actually drove down there last Thursday. But I got to say, Olin, when we look at this, is the answer to keep with this kid? Do you stay with the left tackle and you try to help him a little bit? Does he get better over the week? Why is he in this? I know he hasn't practiced or anything else, but I feel like I want to know what Jake Curran can do. I don't know that I want to see Larry Borum again. I don't know. I don't just know.
Or how much damage are you doing to his future if you continue to play him in the present?
How do you react if you're that kid?
Well, I think now that if Braxton Jones is out again, right? If he's out again this week, if he's not back up, I would expect probably Braxton to be back. But if he's not, you stick with Karan Amagaji, and because you already put him out there, right? You already put him out there, and you see if he can grow, if he can learn from the film. You put him in the film room, you explain to him, look, the tough situation, but your kick step wasn't good enough here, right? You have to trust your technique in these kind of tough situations. You can't worry about a guy, once you put him out there, you can't put him on the bench because now you're saying to him, he just can't look, we know you're, I don't know what you guys are saying here. I guess you guys are saying he's kind of a delicate flower, right? Like, I don't know, we should put you back on the field because you're struggling a little too much here, but I don't know. I think you leave him out there and he has to go through the growing pains once you rip the Band-Aid off and put him out there.
I don't disagree with that.
No,
I think you're kind of stuck now.
Yeah.
He had a bad debut,
but
they made one bad decision already. To back that up with another one is not the way to do business.
No, it's not, and it seems to be what they're doing, right? The bad decisions are seem to be compounding on them, and they don't seem to be making any of the right decisions, even though from the outside looking in, they seem simple, right? You go back to changing the offense coordinator and then elevating the guy who you made offense coordinator head coach. And I wonder, guys, like we're talking about, did someone sit in a room and say, well, does he have to come out of the press box if we put him on the sideline to be head coach, right? Like, where's he going to call plays from? He likes calling plays from the press box. Maybe we should leave him up there for the young quarterback. So it just seems like some of these things are not thought through. Some of these things are not, like, should we put a left tackle out there when we're already down our third down running back, right? Should we put a young left tackle out there? If, think about on third down when Travis Homer's out there, we're protecting our young quarterback. Some of these things need to be thought through. They don't seem like they're doing them. They don't seem like right now they can make the right choice.